All right, welcome back. Another Podcast Twins episode. How you doing today, Vince?
Man, I'm doing great, man. If we can dodge this weather down here.
Well, so I read a statistic that 90% of podcasts don't last more than 3 episodes. So this is probably the episode where we get canceled.
Okay, we're going to do our best to get there then.
So let me tell you this. I know we should not talk about a few things.
Is this that day?
I think we should not talk about a few. We should definitely not talk about COVID vaccines.
No.
We should definitely not talk about how COVID was handled. We should definitely not talk about how politicians are all on the take. We should definitely not talk about what you touched on last time about that whole fake moon landing allegedly thing.
Yes.
What else should we not talk? I mean, there's a lot. We should not talk about Diddy.
We should not talk about Diddy. No matter what happens, we should not talk about Diddy.
We should not talk about Diddy.
But, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a few things in here.
So there's a lot of stuff we should not talk about. I think one thing that's out there already, and if you'll indulge me for a second, I even have some props for this.
Okay.
Is food.
Ooh.
And I am a big proponent of, I did the carnivore diet for 90 days, you know this. And I'm still modified carnivore keto. I've mixed in greens and rice.
Okay.
So I'm still eating real foods that I can pronounce.
Okay.
And one of the things that you said is if you can't pronounce it, where does it not go?
Don't put it in your mouth.
And definitely not in your body.
Don't put it in your mouth.
So, with that being said.
Yes. Because I'd like to
I have here
good items.
The first prop.
Ooh.
This is Arizona green tea with ginseng and honey.
They're not sponsoring this, are they?
Nope.
Okay. Good.
All sounds like good things, right?
Sounds good.
Arizona's a nice place.
It's a great place.
Green tea's good for you.
Green tea cleans you out.
Ginseng.
It's supposed to give you energy.
Honey is natural. Bee vomit.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's read the ingredients because I promised I would.
Let's see how many we can get to before I just don't recognize
Ingredient
words.
number 1 is premium brewed green tea.
Okay.
Using filtered water.
Okay.
High fructose corn syrup.
There we go. All right.
I pronounced it though.
You did, but it's sugar.
And that says in parentheses glucose-fructose syrup. Is it fructose or fructose?
Fructose, whatever. It's all good.
And then honey. Okay. And then citric acid.
Ooh, not
What's
good.
citric acid?
It's not good. You wouldn't just go up and have can I get a bottle of citric acid?
But it sounds like it just comes out of a lemon or an orange.
Yeah, but pretty much not the same.
Not the same thing.
Not the
Okay,
same.
so it's chemicals. Natural flavors. I don't know what that means
Yeah,
either.
well, natural and flavors.
Like dead bugs, that's natural,
Just
right?
a natural flavor,
Okay.
man. So,
ascorbic acid,
ascorbic acid, yes.
which it says vitamin C in parentheses.
Yeah. Give you a little splash in there. Got to make it healthy.
Ginseng root extract, that sounds fine.
And that's like the 9th item already, so that means it's only a little bit.
But here's the nutrition facts. It says there's 11 servings in this giant jug. I don't know how big it is. A liter?
A gallon.
A gallon.
128
I got
ounces.
a gallon here, so there's 11 servings.
Okay.
And in each serving, there is 25 grams of added sugars.
Ooh.
So that means in this thing, there's 25 times 10 is 250 plus another 261 grams of sugar. That seems like a lot.
Well, it would be a lot if I actually had a scale here and put actually some sugar on there so you can see. You would think I'm doing a cocaine deal as opposed to showing you what real sugar looks like. And nowhere in the world would you go up and just have a bowl. Can I get a bowl of 25 grams of sugar and just eat it?
So
what would you
what
do?
you're telling me is this beverage is a scam.
I'm saying it is a drug.
A drug, okay.
That will make you want more of that drug because they're giving you 25 grams of sugar.
I got more.
With each serving.
I got more.
And nothing wants you to have more sugar than sugar.
You recognize this bottle?
I do.
This says Diet Coke 2 liter on it.
So it only gets you a little high.
But hold on, 0 grams of sugar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so it's got to be healthy.
Man, listen, this is calorie free.
Okay, let's read the ingredients. Carbonated water.
Okay, I know
You're
that.
good with
That's
that?
good. I'm good with that.
Caramel color.
Ooh, we're already back to those colors.
Bad, right?
This one is not natural. This one is caramel color.
That's bad, right?
Yes, pretty bad. Pretty bad.
What about aspartame?
Yeah, this does fake sugar, aspartame.
I think I read something that causes headaches and cancer.
It's been linked. I think that's all the way going back to the old school sweet and low. Remember the old pink packets when you go to a restaurant? Yeah, that's sweet and low.
Phosphoric acid?
Yeah, you wouldn't go ahead and order a glass of phosphoric acid.
Drinking acid sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, it's not pretty good at all.
Okay.
It does bad stuff.
Potassium benzoate?
Yeah. Potassium
There's
usually
that
sounds
natural
good.
flavors in citric acid.
There it is, man. There it is.
So what is those things? I know you're a nutrition guy, so I'm asking.
None of that would I say to anybody I'm working with. Hey, man, why don't you go ahead and get some of those natural flavors?
And the last one is caffeine. I know what caffeine is. Yeah. Okay.
And the bad part, caffeine is still so far down on the list, you don't even get the good effects of it.
But then in bold letters underneath all of that, it says phenylketonuria contains phenylalanine. So,
and it's in bold letters. That means pay attention.
But what is that all about? Like, why are we drinking this?
Yeah.
Why are we buying it? Why are we giving this to the GPIPs?
Because the legal team said we got to have this on there because we've been sued over that before. So we got to make it bold to pay attention. We're still not going to break the word down so you can understand what it is.
So we don't want this.
No.
All right.
No.
Okay.
I like to brew green tea in a big monstrous pot.
All right.
And then put it away.
Then you actually get the health benefits of it.
One of the guys in my fire station actually he harvests bees. So we buy his honey, so
I want to go hang out at the firehouse. That sounds magnificent.
We need to do a show there.
I love it.
And that's where I get my honey. So
when I make my homemade barbecue sauce, it does not have sugar in it. It has honey.
It has honey. So there it is.
Man, it is amazing, and it's spicy. It'll light your life up.
And it tastes, but the magic when you use real foods is that it tastes so much better. These are so easy. But the reason they are wildly successful is because they're going to give you things that taste like sugar. Is going to tell your brain this is good because what receptors do the brain light up?
I've noticed that with myself to a very high degree because when I started eating steak and chicken and fish and turkey and bison and elk, and my wife would go to Wild Fork and get kangaroo and all kinds of other stuff, and I would be eating nothing but that, eggs, Greek yogurt with no additives.
Beautiful.
And my wife opened up a bag of Famous Amos cookies. And she said, "Oh, do you want one?" I'm like, "No, I'm eating really healthy." She goes, "Just have one." Right. Basically, I don't want to eat this one. You take it.
Right. Yeah.
And I bit into
like a drug dealer,
and it tasted.
You get the first one free.
It tasted so bad to me, I spit it into the garbage.
Yeah.
And I used to like those.
You realize that your palate has changed
100%
because you were eating real foods, and now when you're getting this thing here, that one bite probably gave you 20 grams of sugar, and it sent you to the moon.
Well, I don't think I got it because I spit the thing out, so I probably only got a couple grams of sugar with this, whatever the spit I generated.
Man, listen, it's only here in this country that we do this to ourselves.
So why is that?
There's a song that says "Money, Money, Money, Money" by the Mighty OJs. But let
me ask you this: who do we blame?
Okay,
because I have mixed feelings about who gets the blame.
So this is a capitalistic society, so they say that you have the freedom to choose, but you also have television that you watch that is highly influential. But they still say that you have the power to choose what you watch on television. So, but then it would be that 1% of that American population that would actually do the research behind those foods that are being advertised as healthy.
But the information's out there. It's not a secret.
It's not a secret. Okay, so let's go back to when I was a kid.
So, like, look, you could blame commercial, like when we were kids, and you got a couple years on me, but not that much. McDonald's had the best advertising of any company, arguably.
They still do.
Budweiser,
yes,
and Bud Light and Miller Lite had, they had Bud Bowl.
They had the Clydesdales, man.
Miller Lite had pretty girls wrestling in fountains over taste great and less filling. Nike, which I don't like Nike shoes because they fall apart. I don't care about their politics. I mean, maybe they have slave labor in wherever, but I don't like their shoes because they fall apart. I've had bad experiences with their products.
I've had that on the golf course where the whole bottom came off.
But they had Jordan.
Yeah.
Right? That's the best marketing you can get. He was the most famous athlete in the world and still may be top 5 most famous athletes ever.
I agree.
And so those companies, and this is a Gen X thing probably too, where, we had our parents were told that you should eat margarine and vegetable oil instead of butter. And
I remember when that happened. That was in the 80s.
In the 80s.
When that whole thing came about, when they demonized fat and cholesterol, and even your honey nut Cheerios, because it reduces your cholesterol. Reduces my cholesterol with that amount of sugar that you just put into my cereal. But I'm gonna get a cholesterol.
You don't need low cholesterol. You just need some diabetes. What you got, Kirsten?
Go ahead and scan that.
What are we scanning?
Scan the Coke.
The Coke bottle?
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. Kirsten gave me a phone to scan. What am I doing here?
Touch that.
So what is this thing? You got some kind of funky app on here? So I scanned the Diet Coke barcode, and all it says, there's a little orange dot, and it says 41 divided by 100 poor.
Yes.
That's all it says.
Yeah. In other words,
don't eat this. Don't drink this.
Let's not do that.
Hold on. Let's go one more. Let's go back to Arizona. 32. It's worse.
How about that?
Ooh.
How about that?
All right. So we got an app here.
So should we give this app to the world?
No, we should make them pay us as a sponsor and then give it to the world.
I think that might happen.
So
I love it. I need that.
Kirsten, reach out to those people and see if they want to sponsor our show, man. We'll just come up here and I'll bring Doritos next podcast.
Man, listen, we'll bring it all. I probably got something in the back of the car from the kids.
Jeez.
But the magic behind it all is their job is to make you want more.
So I mean, basically, the tobacco companies bought the food companies, and we're just addicted to drugs essentially. If we're eating that crap,
we are the world's leading drug addicts because we love sugar.
So I mean, I want to blame politicians, but it's not really their fault because they're just doing what they get paid to do, and I don't want to blame the FDA.
Are you talking about what they get paid to do on top or underneath?
Well, what they allegedly get paid. Okay. If you ask my dad, who still, in my opinion, thinks that politicians are here to help us, I don't know why he thinks that, but generational. They are paid by our tax dollars, allegedly, even though they just keep printing more money, but that's another story, to pass laws for the people that are paying them.
Okay.
Right? And then they got all their insider trading going on. That's not a secret either. So, they might write laws favorably to their donors, and I don't think anybody's exempt from that I'm aware of. So I don't want to blame politicians, because if I want to blame politicians, that means I'm not in control of it anymore. So
the people paying the politicians are the pimp and the politicians are the hoes.
Sure. Yeah. Let's call it that.
Because it's transaction.
I'm fine with that.
It's transaction.
I don't hear anything I'm arguing.
No, because but is it their fault?
It is partially their fault, but at the end of the day, they're not putting the food into our mouths, right? I mean, if I go to Restaurant Depot, which is another potential sponsor, because I love that place, and I buy a beef tenderloin for $114 and cut 7 steaks out of it.
Okay,
and they're awesome. Nice 2-inch fatties like you'd get at Ruth's Chris, but I'll put my steak up against theirs.
And except you're only getting one from Ruth Chris for that one.
That's exactly right. Okay, so if I make those steaks and I eat them and my family eats them, the government's not watching me. The FDA is not sitting next to me. I'm making my own decision. So, yes, I believe that the pimps and hoes, as you so eloquently articulated them, are to blame. But at the end of the day, am I not the one cutting that meat up after I cook it?
But when you were a kid and your mom and your dad was watching these commercials, and those commercials was telling them that this is a healthy food,
they got duped.
They got hoodwinked and bamboozled.
100%.
Plymouth Rock landed on them. They
and a
didn't
lot
land
of
on
people
Plymouth
still
Rock.
believe that they should eat seed oils and margarine instead of butter.
I can't believe
People
it's not butter.
still
You know why you
believe
can't
that.
believe it? Because it ain't butter. That's why you can't believe it. Damn it. That's what it is. And you know, again, I grew up in the era where you had 2 cans on the stove. You had the fish grease can that was in the old Crisco can, and you had the bacon and other meats can. Because when mom would finish cooking the fish, she'd pour that oil back over in there, real stuff. And then take that bacon grease, put it in there, and cook something else. We cooked with real fats back in the day.
I do that now.
But when it got demonized, I remember when those cans disappeared from my stove. And I'm like, Mom, my mom was born in Mississippi in 1929. She knew what was good, but then when TV said that it was healthy, we started coming up with this brown thing in there that said, I can't believe it's not butter, or country crock, or whatever the hell.
It's a crocker, right?
And when I got old enough and I showed her, I'm like, Mom, you know, this is one molecule from being plastic. Now, again, she didn't understand the whole molecule thing, but I'm in an advanced science class.
Have you seen the Kraft cheese thing where if you light it on fire, it burns like plastic?
It is plastic.
Oh, that grossed me out, man.
It is plastic. And a lot of, or the famous one is the McDonald's burger that was left in the car for a year.
And it didn't change at all.
Looked exactly the same.
That's nasty.
Looked exactly the same. So again, we got to look at if your food doesn't spoil, it ain't real.
Well, my first W-2 job when I was 14, I worked before that. I mowed lawns, right? I knocked on my neighbor's door, give me $10, I'll mow your lawn.
Hustling.
Done. But my first W-2 job, I was 14, and I rode my bike because it was pretty close by to Burger King in Cooper City, where I grew up. And the first day, they had me on the cash register because you can't cook the food at 14. Right. And basically, the promotion was you could wear a headset and go to the drive-thru. And so I'm at the cash register, and I see them take out what I thought was lard, but it was nothing but a box of chemicals, and dump it into the fryer, and then put the French fries in there. That was the last day I ever ate Burger King. It's amazing. It wasn't because I knew better. I was 14. I didn't know nothing from nothing.
It grossed you out.
It smelled so bad, and I smelled so bad when I got home that I had to take my clothes off on the patio and run to the shower in just my underwear so that I didn't offend my family, essentially.
I fully understand. My girlfriend in high school worked at Burger King, and we would have that discussion. If I picked her up in the car, we were like, hey, let's let these windows down, because she hated it. She was like, I need this job, but I smell like Burger King. And it would stay on you. And
when you walk into a restaurant, you know, there's like an app now, I think, that you can tell like which restaurants fry their food in seed oils and which ones use bacon, fat, or tallow or whatever. But you can tell when you go in there. Like, I used to love a wings place by my house. And I went in there after I started eating the healthy way, like the real food way, let's call it. I don't feel like I'm on a diet.
No.
I feel like I'm eating real food and everybody else is on a diet.
Okay. All right.
They're on a diet of sugar, poison, chemicals, colors, dyes, whatever. I'm eating real food and I'm getting judged for that sometimes, which is weird to me. Yeah. But it is what it is. So
you're going to die. Okay. But you just ate all that crap.
I just bought new belts because my old ones were for fat guys.
Listen, man,
so
we'll show you a picture later, man.
That's right.
It's amazing how this thing works, but you're absolutely correct.
Well, I saw your before and after pictures.
Real food is irreplaceable. But you get caught up into this world of, you know, so when I was working in the pool business before I became a fireman, my job was in a van. I had to go check on all these places all around Dade County. And I ate out of the drive-thru probably 4 to 5 days a week. But I'm in my 20s. I'm a former athlete at that point, man. Life is good. I probably could still go back out and play at that point. But it didn't catch up with you until you started having kids. Next thing you know, life slows down. You skip that gym for a couple of years. But you're okay. You're okay, but your habit still continues. And then as you grow and you go from being a bumpy guy to now you're a smooth guy, and then that smooth one pops out a little bit. But as long as you can pull your pants up, you're all right. Look, it just becomes a misinformation thing because we become a world of convenience. And that convenience turned into profits. Because when McDonald's and Burger King first, they didn't cook all that. It wasn't cooked in garbage at first. But as they started to turn higher profits, they started using cheaper and cheaper ingredients, cheaper oils, less real meat. Now they're having meat-like products.
That's being generous.
And then they'll tell you, hey, this particular new burger that we're only offering for 6 months is real 100% beef. But what the hell is the rest of it? We're not going to talk about the chicken-like products. Who came up with the nugget?
What about this BS making chicken in a lab out of like chemicals and chemicals?
Yeah, it's generated. Yeah, man, we generating.
I think it might be time to move to Italy because they just banned fake meat. They're the first country. How could not every country ban fake meat?
Well, their
profits, I know, money, blah.
Their
blah,
hoes
blah,
aren't accepting so much of the pimp's money.
Pimp's money, yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. But we like to say, but you had the choice. You made that choice.
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing with alcohol.
Yeah.
Hard alcohol and beer, right?
Yeah.
We know it's not good for us.
No.
Right? Beer is I learned that beer is a scam. Because beer is marketed to men and it raises your estrogen.
Mm-hmm. Which why you see a lot of guys with beer guts and titties.
There you go.
Yeah. So you see a lot of hard beer drinkers and they pretty much need a B cup when they go out.
Yeah. So like beer was a scam. I mean, any of the drinks you order in a bar with all the sugars and all the other crap added. I saw something, and this is off that subject, but Starbucks, like they're now under fire if anybody pays attention because, and we should have known this anyway, right? Their pumpkin squirt thingy is nothing but chemicals. It's not food.
It's syrup is what it is, and it's a chemically based syrup. It's not a natural.
It's not maple syrup that they drill into a tree in Maine for.
No, man. Well, all you got to do is
Canada.
Look at what the frappe from McDonald's. I think it was 45 grams of sugar for the small. But that wasn't their biggest seller.
How did they fit any liquid in the damn cup?
It was sugar with a little caffeine thrown in there, and you sprayed some whipped cream on top.
So if you put a spoon in it, would the spoon just stand like straight up?
It would probably rust from all the sugar that's down at the bottom. But these are things that people was like, but it's coffee. I'm like, no, it's not. You're literally having what they call a dessert, and they put some pretty little foam on top. And they're giving it to you, and then Starbucks charge you $8-9 for it.
And I'll tell you, if we wait,
and you're addicted.
If we wait for the pimps and hoes to care, we're gonna be holding our breath till we turn blue and die. So the only way that we change it
is right here on the damn podcast twins
with our dollars,
and with our education, with our telling them, hey, stop buying that crap.
Well, and don't lead by example.
Okay, so here we go.
Lead by example.
So now,
I mean, you're gonna still buy beer.
I'm just saying, sponsors. Anyway, if you could now, here's another interesting point.
I don't think a beer company is gonna sponsor us after I just said the whole industry is a scam.
That's okay. Whiskey and tequila, we're here for. You got less sugar anyway.
Tequila raises your testosterone, allegedly. I got to look that up on ChatGPT.
I don't even want to look it up no more. I'm just going to take that as a fact and run with it. Just going to take that.
I should have said it confidently.
Yeah, I'm going to take that as a fact and run with it.
Did you know that, Kirsten? You're a scientist and a nutrition guy.
Wine has been around for thousands of years. So
what does that have to do with tequila raising your testosterone?
But it's a product that we can still drink that is not healthiest.
Mm-hmm.
But it won't really deteriorate our bodies as much
as all the chemicals and poisons. Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
Okay. So, and the fact is we eat more food than drink alcohol. So
we hope so.
So with that being the case, you look at the rise of autism. You look at the rise of all of these kids that are now, they can't wait to put them on medication so they can be in regular school.
Well, you can fix that with diet, though.
Well, here's where I'm going. So when this whole big thing came out about What the Health, when the vegan industry financed that movie to try to demonize meats, and they put out there and all these people, oh my God, I'm never going to eat meat again. Look what they're doing. Look at these animals. And then they came out with the other one called The Magic Pill. That one has been removed from Netflix and all of these other platforms because they said that this movie is proclaiming that changing the diet actually healed. Well, here's the problem. When they took the kids off all those sugars and put them on real foods, and there was a couple of rough transitions, you had kids that went from unable to sit and to pay attention to now you had functional kids, because these kids were eating real whole foods in the morning, having bacon and eggs and stuff like that. They didn't give them the Pop-Tarts, and they didn't give them all this stuff, and then send them off to school to these poor teachers who are underpaid. And now they got 30 kids in here that's been loaded with sugar, and now you want them to go to school and behave.
Well, how do you mentioned when you're with the G-Pips,
yes,
you give them something unhealthy, right? So how do you balance that with, being the sugar grandpa,
yes,
the sugar G-Pop?
And it's true, but I really don't give them a lot. And here's, like, we'll do a fry. We'll get an order fries. Split. My oldest one, she don't eat that much, so we don't have to worry about her. She's not the eater.
She's 3.
They're both 3.
They're both 3,
but they're 3 months apart.
Got it.
So the younger 3, she's my eater, and she likes food. But guess what? She's of a Caribbean background. She G-Pop, I want rice and beans.
All right.
She'll turn the fry away if you bring her a bowl of rice and beans with chicken. And I'm like, that's it. So, but that's what we have to do. And even in that movie, Magic Pill, they talked about a strategy with one kid, and it was very tough. They made that, they basically, I don't want to say starve that kid, but you get to a point where that kid gets hungry enough to eat anything. And that's how the kid started to eat those natural foods. And they made it his only option. And over time, it did change his behavior, because it's going to have to, because we only reflect what we intake. That kid was eating Pop-Tarts and waffles and sugars, and because that's what they thought was
no food at all.
They thought
just chemicals.
That's it. They thought that these were considered breakfast foods. And the man was like, well, no, well, look at what does breakfast mean. You're just breaking the fast. Why would you wake up in the morning and figure this is the best time to load my kid down with a 50-gram bowl of sugar frosted flakes?
That's again the marketing, right? The American Diabetes Association has the worst diet of all time for someone who has insulin problems.
Absolutely.
On their website.
Well, who funds that?
Pfizer? I don't know. Doesn't Pfizer fund everything?
Big Pharma. Big Pharma funds that. And who profited when they turned the food pyramid upside down? Big Pharma. Because at one point, you had proteins fat and all this other up here. Then with grains down here. Now they said eat 9 servings of grains a day.
I mean, look,
we made diabetics.
When I was a kid in elementary school, I questioned that because it just didn't make sense. Who eats 10 pieces of bread a day?
A day. Well, we have become that society now. It may not just be bread, but you again, I grew up in the 80s, man. It became even when you ate at home, it was all starchy, and then it went from the old oats to the 1-minute oats. How you think that happened?
I can't even buy peanut butter off the shelf anymore. I mean, it's got soybean oil and
seed oils everywhere.
Sunflower oil, and like you can't even find a peanut butter that. Oh man, you would think that it's made of peanuts.
Yeah, no, that's a
myth.
That's a fantasy. So, you literally got to go to Whole Foods and grind your own peanut butter down and figure out how to do this stuff to mix it. By the way, if you do that and then put some of this natural honey in there, it's amazing. But that's what it is. If real food, it takes time to make it. You don't drive through and pick it up because none of these places you drive through and pick up that food is serving you real food. Because the pimps and the hoes made it that way where, hey, man, look, we're going to make it easy for you because now you can go take little Timmy to practice. Don't worry, he's going to burn it off. But what about you? You ain't doing nothing but sitting on the sideline, yelling, drinking a huge Diet Coke because you want to be on the diet while you're eating this large fry and this, double quarter pounder. Because you ain't even take the bread and flip it.
That is, that, 70%?
I would say, yeah, we're probably getting close to that.
It's half.
I would say in the 60%.
That's 44.
Okay, that's almost half.
Yeah. This is just obesity. That means you're grossly obese by this. First of all, not the BMI scale, but by real scales. Grossly obese. But that's insane. And over the world, we're triple that of the next closest country. We're triple.
So you got to vote with your dollars. The bottom line. Don't buy that crap.
And at least start educating your family from inside out and make sure that people watch the podcast Twins because we're going to talk about crap like this every week. Make sure that people get more towards the keto carnivore lifestyle because, damn it, that's real food.
Real food. And it's not a diet.
It's not a diet. It's real food.
We're eating real food
and it tastes
everybody
amazing.
else is on a diet. That's the mindset you have to have.
So when you go to dinner, here was my first challenge and I'll never forget it. We go to dinner, sitting there, and what's the first thing they bring you?
Bread.
Gonna put some bread on the table.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there looking at this bread and you're like, smells amazing, but I know it's no good for me. So I push it away. That didn't work. I told the lady when she came back, hey, take this out of here. Because I couldn't just stand I was early in my journey. Couldn't stand to sit there and watch this bread sitting on this table because it was calling me. It's like a drug dealer. So they put it there. I'm like, no. And then they're like, well, what do you want? I was like, well, okay, let me have the ribeye. She said, what do you want for your sides? I said, ribeye. That's it. Just bring the ribeye. Oh, it comes. Okay, well then go ahead and just bring the garden salad. No dressing, and just bring it. Oh, do you have oil and vinegar? You know what? Forget it. Just bring the greens. And I was at table with other folks, and it got to the point when they was looking at me crazy, but they knew what I was moving towards. But it's socially awkward to not participate in the game that everybody else is doing.
But it's socially awkward to be the one guy at the table that's not drinking an alcoholic beverage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and if you can do that, you can do it all. And so what I say to folks is, look, pick your poison. Pick it. Let's say if we're going to go out and we're going to have a beverage. Let's say. So do I need the beverage and a potato and bread? How high am I really trying to raise my glucose level here tonight?
Well, you know why they put bread on the table first.
They want you to fill up, man, so you can talk about how good how much they got you.
Nope.
Huh.
It's so you order dessert.
Okay.
Because it spikes your sugar and then
sugar
it goes
begets
away,
sugar.
And you want to order dessert.
It crashes down.
I know that because my wife worked in every type of restaurant from Steak and Shake garbage to high-end, steak restaurant, the Breakers in West Palm Beach Steakhouse, and everything in between. And I learned that because they taught her as part of her server training, make sure the bread comes out right away.
Sugar.
People are hungry. They came to the restaurant because they're hungry. Their sugar will spike, and they'll be more likely to order dessert, which means more money for the restaurant.
Absolutely.
And a bigger tip for the server.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's a scam.
Pimps and hoes.
Bread's a scam.
Pimps and hoes. Look, man, it's the oldest business in the world. And it ain't going nowhere. We just put different titles on it. But
all right, who else can we throw under the bus now that we're on a hot topic?
Okay.
I want to throw
Did you get jabbed?
Hell no.
Okay.
That was a fight, though.
It was a fight.
And it was a bad fight because I got banned from family gatherings at one point, and it was ugly, man.
Yes.
It was ugly.
I tend to agree.
However, I'll tell you this. One thing that saved me, I've only had like one flu shot ever.
Okay.
And I got a horrible reaction and almost wound up in the hospital. So because of that, my physician, who knew my health history, said, I recommended this for 97% of my patients, but because of that one flu shot, I'm scarred for you. Don't do it.
Okay.
So that was the one thing that got me out of the conversation when everybody, not everybody, but certain people were like, gotta do it, gotta do it, gotta do it. What about you?
Okay. So my journey, the short answer is I got the jab. I took the
How many?
double dose. No, just the
2.
Right, part 1, part 2.
Okay.
No boosters, none of that stuff. And I got hoodwinked and bamboozled and forced into doing that too because
your job.
My job stated
do it or else.
Or if you go back out, because I had the OG COVID and it was OG. I was down for like 10 days. It was literally the worst flu you could ask for, but I survived. It was not that,
my experience was different, but keep going.
So I had the OG COVID. It was bad. It was rough. But when I came out of it, I was getting tested and I had the antibodies. So I was like, well, I'm maxed out at antibodies and I'm doing really good, man. I'm Garrett. And so I was rolling along. And then as the world began to change, the job said if you don't get this and you go back out, you're not covered. You're not covered by your patient. You're either going to use your own sick time or whatever the case may be. And I was like, wow. And then they said, hey, we'll give you $500 to do it too. So I'm like, that's pimping and hoeing. Anyway, so
I didn't say it.
But it then also became a travel thing because I traveled the entire COVID season. Okay. I traveled all over the place because I was getting tickets for $39 and I was going. Okay. I think I flew to Vegas for like $40 and back, like under $80. Okay. Flew to Vegas. But once I got the jab, I could go because you had to present this magic card that allowed you to go.
And am I happy about it? Nobody knows about that anymore. Who has a COVID shot card now? Nobody.
I got it on my phone.
Yeah, but because I earned nobody asked for it.
No. So I really wish that I hadn't have gotten it because now that we are becoming a little bit more educated on what the side effects were. Most people don't experience side effects, but I have people very, very close to me that experience some horrible side effects. Like a normal, healthy 20-something-year-old person who had no issues suddenly had raging thyroid issues, that's one of the side effects, to the point where that thyroid had to be removed. And now this individual in their 20s have to live on thyroid medication for the rest of their lives.
So I equated it to a 22 long rifle ammunition, 22 LR. Because if you've ever shot one of those, you know that they produce those in such mass quantity that they're notorious for jamming and malfunctioning. Okay. So even if 95% of them work, the other 5% are going to do more harm than good. And that was one of the reasons in my argument where I said, you know what, I don't think I want to do. I kept it out of my kids too.
Smart man.
Just because I didn't think that it was anything that was going to necessarily help. More than it hurt.
Wish that I chose that direction. I really do. I really do. That's one of the great regrets that I do have is me taking it and having my kids take it. But ironically, my GPIP number 1 was on its way, and they tried to encourage my daughter to take the shot
while she was pregnant.
I'm talking like pregnant. I'm talking like 8 months. 8 months pregnant. Yeah. You know how sometimes, we get animated.
Papa Bear came out.
I'm not even there, but I'm screaming into the phone like I'm going into the doctor's office. I'm like, I'm coming over there right now. Don't you dare. And the doctor could hear me screaming through the other phone.
Backed off.
And he was like, well, we were just recommending it. I said, don't recommend. Don't recommend. Check the baby. Make sure the baby's... What are we doing? We're going to take an experimental drug, but she's already going to be born vaccinated. Don't do that. I screamed and lost my mind. So again, that whole period of life, but everybody was scared to death. But that one, I was like, no. So she didn't actually get her
Interesting.
Jabs until after the child was born. But again, side effects were horrible.
Well, I also had a weird experience with COVID because November of 2020, right before Thanksgiving, and my family, for the most part, was still hanging out. That summer of 2020, I would pick up 2 of my cousins from my aunt's house, and I would go work from my uncle's house because we could go in the pool at the end of the day. So the kids would play in the pool together, and then we would jump in there at 4 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock when we were done, and we would all eat together. We're Sicilians, so like we congregate, right? Like that's our way. And, you know, we show love through food and gatherings. Like, we don't even care about Christmas presents. We just want to hang out together and play cards or dominoes until 6 o'clock and everybody goes home full and tired. So, so we were doing that. And then my wife, right before Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday.
Okay.
Because I cook the proteins, everybody else brings sides and desserts, and nobody goes home hungry.
Right.
And, you know, we're kind of the quintessential old school Italians. Like, if you don't bring a couple friends, what, you got no friends?
Right.
And stuff like that. So, about 8 days before Thanksgiving, she comes down with what we thought was a sinus infection. And I think nothing of it. My daughter is 4 at the time, and she's like this with mommy, like 1 inch in front of her face at all times. And my son was there with us, and he was about 10. And I was sleeping in the same bed as my wife when she had her sinus infection, which actually was COVID.
Yeah.
And 4 days into it, she got really, really sick. Like, I hadn't seen her sick like that since she was pregnant with our daughter. Okay. Because you know how some women, when they get first pregnant, they get really, like, she was whiter, and she's Irish, so she's already white enough. Okay. She was as white as a sheet. Okay. And I'm like, I'd never tell anybody to go to the doctor. Yeah. You need to go to the doctor. Yeah. And that was the sickest I had ever seen her before she got COVID. Okay. So then she's like, look, just go. And I'm fine. I'm 100%. Like, I'm going out to play golf the next day with a buddy of mine that has asthma. Okay. And I call him up, and I feel like I learned that day what it was like to call somebody in the 80s and tell him you had AIDS. Right. Good analogy. So I call my buddy up, and I'm like, listen, Mark, I am 100% healthy. I am good to go. But I slept in the same bed as my wife the last 4 days, and she's definitely got COVID. Yeah. It was COVID. Lost her smell, lost her taste. Like, it was COVID. We didn't need a test. Right. It was COVID. And the kids and I didn't get it at all then. Like, nothing. We were all 100%. I took the test. And I know those things weren't wildly accurate, but it was negative every time. Right. They took the test and negative. And I'm like, this just, something doesn't add up here. Like, I slept in the same bed as this woman for 4 days, and ugats, nothing. My daughter's 4 inches from her face, hugging mommy all the time, kissing her, and nothing. So I'm like, I thought I was immune, like naturally immune maybe. And then about a year and a half later, after it was fashionable. Everybody had it. I went out to lunch with a business partner of mine, and he called me 2 days later. He's like, hey, man, I know we had lunch together with Eric the other day. I got COVID. I'm like, pfft. And that was after it was like a blow-off thing, right?
Like, whatever. I got this.
So the next day, I play in a charity golf tournament. Okay. It was on a Friday with 2 of my friends, and we drove to Port St. Lucie in the same car. And I sweat when I play golf, as we all do. It's Florida. It was hot. I'm sweating more than any human should ever sweat. And I'm like basically trying to like prop myself up by the end of the day. And I'm eating lunch, but I didn't like it because everything tasted fun. Like, it was weird. So and neither one of them got COVID, by the way, after being with me. It was weird. So, you know, and I go home and I got like the lesser version of what you're talking about. I slept for a day. I stayed in bed for a day. And the third day I was back.
No.
So I got the lesser version or whatever.
The lower strands after it had
after whatever. So
that OG COVID was no joke.
And my kids, thank God, like even though they were with me, nothing. Yeah. So it just was a weird time, and I feel like people have short memories and they forgot about it already.
And it's well, hey, you got.
And maybe they wanted to. I want to forget about it.
It's easy to forget because now everybody's back to living their own life.
Well, and things were weird. Like we closed golf courses, but gun ranges were open.
Yeah, it was essential.
So you could go, and I argued that that's because golf courses don't need lobbyists.
True.
Because politicians all love to play golf, so you don't need a lobby. Gun ranges have lobbyists.
Those three letters in the gun world are very, very powerful letters.
I could stand right next to you with a little partition between us, but I couldn't drive down the middle of the fairway by myself.
We were on the golf course, Greg and I, when the word came down that it was closing. We were like, no, you're lying. They was like, no, man, seriously. When you guys pull in, it's over. Sure enough, we got in the car and turned it on. It was like, Parks and Rec.
You weren't playing at Coral Springs Country Club in a charity tournament that day because I was supposed to play.
No,
it was the Martin Luther King Jr. charity tournament for scholarships for underprivileged kids. And
we were in Springs, but a little further down.
Oh my God, that would have been ridiculous if we were supposed to meet that day because we were playing golf
absolutely
together.
Crazy. We were just
March 13th, 2020 was the date.
We were on the course, and the guy was like, "Y'all better get out now." Because they're talking about, and by the time we made the turn, he was like, y'all go ahead. He let us finish. As soon as we came in, it was a wrap. They didn't let nobody else out.
You know the funny thing? New York, which closed everything for the longest, didn't ever close golf courses.
That's strange.
So you looked at all these things and it didn't make sense at a certain point, right?
Well, none of it made sense. How I caught mine, which was very, very funny.
Is it going to be wearing a mask and then if you sit down, you take the mask off and you're fine? Because that was a red flag for me too.
Listen, man, we get into the mask thing in a second.
We're 100% not going to have a fourth episode. Go on.
So the wife and I are going to. I found this boxing gym, Title Boxing, whatever, and it was like,
on Dixie Highway.
No, this one is in Royal Palm.
Oh, you're in Royal Palm.
Yeah, so
okay.
I'm up north. And we were doing our walks, and it was like, man, you know what? I've been really wanting to do this boxing thing. I used to do it back in the day. It was fun. Let's go. Finally convinced her. We went. Boom. We went on a Wednesday and Thursday, and Friday. So we joined in the middle. Boom. Guy got us out there. So if the room is like this, it's a warehouse. The door's back here. Boom. You come in. Her bag is back here in the corner. I'm back in that corner. Wall to wall. So everybody's facing this way, So I'm in the corner and not thinking nothing of it. Every other bag, nobody's close to me. We got 6 feet ish. We're doing this here. Everything is great. I got my gloves, man. We go home Friday night. We're leaving out of there. It's drizzling. It's getting a little chilly, but it's drizzling. And I'm like, ooh, because this is December of 2020. All right, a little cooler evening. We're sweating. I never, ever, ever beat my wife to the shower. I was shaking so bad that I got out of the car that fast and ran to the shower, turned it on hot, took a shower, whatever, came out. We're sitting there, minding our business, not paying up. And then Saturday morning, we get up, we pour coffee. And by the time we pour the coffee, I took a sip of the coffee and was like, this don't taste right. Both of our phones rang at the same time. It was a text message from the gym. Hey, one of the person in your class just got confirmed COVID. And I'm sitting there like that fast, but it probably was Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, one of those days. And so I went out that day. We both went out that day, and that's when they were charging like $225 for you to take a regular test.
Oh, damn.
My job covered mine, but we took hers, so she got an immediate result. COVID on the spot for her. Mine came in Monday, COVID confirmed, but I got it literally 9 times worse because I was in that corner and everybody was huffing and puffing and blowing, and so the ventilation of the warehouse was probably in that corner. So hilarious. So we actually had our wedding the following year.
Oh my God.
And we was like, okay, COVID is good. It was over. No, we had the best party in the world, but we also had the super spreader. We we got the wedding was on Saturday, and then on Monday, the calls start coming. Hey, I just want to let you know I got COVID. Okay, one person. By the end of that 4th or 5th hour, we had like 16 people calling. But all in all, we stopped counting at 50. But anyway, that's a whole nother ballgame. But the best part was her uncle, who was probably in his late 60s at that point. He said, I'd catch it all over again if we could have a party like that again. So,
well, no, and there was a lot of that. I mean, I had a good buddy that his grandfather's 100th birthday. And he called his family and said, look, we're coming to my birthday party.
Yeah.
I'm 100. I'm on borrowed time anyway.
I've already won the game twice.
Bring your butts here. Yeah. We're having dinner as a family. And they did it. They respected his request. He's 100. Look, you don't say no to your grandfather when he's 100, right? Like,
right. I'm good.
That's
I'm all
it.
in.
Like, hey, look, if I get COVID and croak, I could croak for any reason tomorrow.
I did it with my family.
That's it. And he, his philosophy was,
because everybody probably wore their masks like this anyway.
I don't think that I don't think they had them.
Those were chin masks.
I think they skipped the face.
Everybody had the most protected chins. Yeah, beard mask.
Dude,
Everybody wanted.
I tell you, man, that mask messed my beard up because I got a big beard and it was all out of whack. It was like hat hair, but for a beard, it was terrible.
Yeah, it was hell on single guys too, because they thought, oh my gosh, she's cute. Oh shit, she's not. It was hell on single guys out there, man.
I mean, I'm sure some single women would probably argue that it was maybe hell on them too.
No, because the guys was probably wearing their masks down here. They got to see their whole face anyway, so
goodness.
They're going to be a little safer than us. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, man. So that was a hell of an 18-month period in our lives that pretty much you rarely hear anything about it now.
So from Podcast Twins to the Get Canceled podcast, will be our next name.
I'm okay with that, man.
All right, good.
Because we did not talk about it.
We didn't talk about it.
Because we knew those are subjects we should not talk about.
We would never do such a thing.
I mean, I wouldn't dare talk about the big C word and, with Brother Fauci up there who was changing the story every third day. I was like, now you talking about the pimp. I was like, man, this guy he's a silver-tongued pimp up here. But, hey,
then you go down the rabbit hole and you find out he was involved in AIDS also before that. And I mean, you can keep going.
The man
you can keep going.
No one can fix when you create a computer program that's going to stop other people from breaking in it. Who better to design it than the criminal himself? I'm going to create a program that only I can get into.
Couldn't somebody just fire that guy? I mean, wasn't Trump notorious for firing everybody? You couldn't just fire that guy? Well, like if anybody needed to be fired.
On paper, that guy was the highest paid government official in the country.
And that's the money we know about.
I said on paper. I said on paper, the highest paid government official that we had. When you're that guy and that pimping, where you just running with all the money, on paper, we're not talking about your private business dealings that you had going on with these alleged companies that's going out here doing this other stuff. But alleged. Hey, I didn't see the checks. I didn't see the cash. We can only assume. But, just with the decisions that was being made, the only thing that came out of that is that I made good money off the Pfizer stock during that time period. That's the only thing that came out of there really positive.
I know a lot of people that made money on Zoom stock.
I wish I got in on the Zoom. I missed the Zoom. But as far as the COVID one, man, that's the only one I really got gains on was the Pfizer and the other one too. The other big company out there. So Moderna.
Well, now that's Travis Kelce's money.
Huh?
That's Travis Kelce's money now. Pfizer gave all that money to Travis Kelce. He's in the commercials with 2 Band-Aids.
Oh, yeah. Hey, man, listen, when you're doing that with the 2 Band-Aids, man, it looks good. Then you got John Legend with his little sleeve pulled down, too, man. He's getting some of that money, too.
Okay.
So, hey, man, listen, they're spreading it around, they do a lot of spreading around out there in that world out there,
So they would be considered hoes then.
They would definitely be hoes.
Okay,
they
just
would
making
definitely be
sure.
hoes.
Just
Listen,
making sure.
Listen, ain't nothing wrong with a hoe.
Hoes gotta eat.
The hoes got to eat too. You know, give them a whole cake, they got to eat.
Canceled for sure. All right, cool. So now that we're canceled, what do we talk about on the next podcast? Because that's it for today.
We're going to talk about getting canceled, or what we shouldn't have talked about.
What we shouldn't have talked about.
So we'll kind of recap that.
Okay.
But other than that, man, hey, man, listen, I'm just waiting to see what happens to find out what goes on the inside of this body maybe I can carnivore my way out of the COVID shot.
I hope so, man. I want you around for a lot of episodes.
I need to be around for a lot of episodes.
And the G-Pips more important.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I know I'm not as important as them, and that's okay. It's okay.
We're working at it. We're building. We're building.
So, all right. Well, next episode, we get canceled even further on the Podcast Twins.
There's no doubt. We're not talking about that then. Peace.